who made a special cameo appearance in Day 9 Daily number 115, which you should all check out. It's a 2v2 between my housemates. And, you know, this is an interesting technique that was used by Teletha. The fact that he's waiting for more than his initial batch of Banshees to pop in here. Because a big issue is that players will sometimes wait until they'll just get their first Banshee and move straight out to attack. But think of it this way: if I am getting 2 starports worth of Banshees, let's say I have 1 starport. If I get my Banshee and immediately go attack him, my Zerg opponent almost always has 2 queens. So he's going to be able to repel the Banshee and then go, shit, he's making Banshees. And then he'll just make some more queens. So my second Banshee doesn't have that much use. But if I wait for 2 Banshees, as we saw the little one do against Dimaga yesterday, if we wait for those 2 Banshees, it means when we get into the Zerg's base, our 2 Banshees can beat the Zerg's 2 queens. So then we have the chance to kill off both of those queens and kill drones, because only at that time is the Zerg going to go, oh my god, oh, he's making a whole bunch of Banshees, I better make queens. His queen response is going to be a little bit later, so you can do some more damage. So I like what Teletha is doing. By the way, I have my video monitor here so I can see my face. I want all of you to note how I'm still recovering from mauling my face while shaving. I'm normally pretty good, but didn't quite micro that razor properly, and one of the viewers yesterday said it looked like I shaved with a samurai sword. Which is one of the awesomest things I think I've ever heard. So here is, again, the delay in this Wraith attack. Notice how with the Hydralisk and the 2 queens, still 3 Wraiths come, or excuse me, 3 Banshees come out way on top. I just called it a Wraith. Whoa, what a throwback. Cloak is pretty good. Especially if you're intending on transitioning to some Vikings at some point, because you can just pick off those Overseers relatively easily. So everything else that Teletha is doing is a pretty typical follow-up. You just want to transition to some sort of big Marine Marauder ground army. You have a lot of freedom after you get these Banshees up. And that's one thing that is nice about Banshees in this circumstance. You can move around the map, you have mobility, you freaked Zerg out. Look, he's already having to make some more queens. Zerg is feeling pulled back, he doesn't want to move out. Blah, blah, blah. This gives you time as Terran to set up whatever it is that you please. So it looks like we're going to have a fairly marine-heavy army. Because one of the big compositions that a lot of Zergs have been struggling with is this sort of Raven marine tank composition. The emphasis on one of each unit producing structure. Also, like, Marine Tank Banshee is super popular against Protoss on the Asia server. That's one of the first locations where that ever really popped up. But on the Asia server, Marines are also particularly popular just as a unit, because they do deal a lot of damage. They deal way more damage than Marauders, as a matter of fact. A Marauder against an armor unit doesn't quite deal as much damage as a Marine against any unit. So, I mean, definitely something significant to note in there. So we have the Evo Chamber going down. In this matchup, always want to get a fast Evo Chamber for the +1 upgrade. Well, you know, I just said that, but that's really back in the days, way long ago, where everyone remembers a roach being 1 food instead of 2, where you could actually just get a lot of roaches and be in good shape. But we are still seeing that the missile attacks going down. And oh, this is interesting, a baneling nest. This is actually quite an early baneling nest. Normally, if you're going for this Hydra roach composition, which it appears that Zerg is hinting that he wants to do, anytime you do that, you end up pretty much focusing on that for quite some time. And oh my god, is he going to get it? And this is what makes Banshees cool, is that you can do the scoot and shoot. And look at him just doing 2 little circles, celebrating. Perhaps doing the Macarena or something like that. We'd have the Baneling Nest finishing up right now. One of the awesomest things about 2 queens, you really cannot support the larva off 2 queens right at the start, so always get a creep tumor. I think that's pretty obvious by now, considering how many top players have been abusing creep tumors, but you know, it's very important just to say every now and again. And see, look at this, look how awesome these Banshees are. That's one thing that I think a lot of players have not been quite abusing enough. You heard me say that so often Zergs love taking this expansion here, or they could even take the gold expansion. Regardless of which one they take, they're generally expanding away from their opponent with a base like this one or a base like this one. So that way Zerg can pretty much bounce units from this Menk statue that's waving to everyone over to this Menk statue that's waving to me. Whoops, wrong window. There we go. They can go over to this Menk statue. Like, bouncing between these 2 locations is super easy way to defend everything. And I think that more often players have not been abusing things the way Teletha is, where they're going, oh, if you want to expand out there, I'll make you defend out there, and then I'll pop back here and threaten the back of your base. Very strong play. Really dig it. I'm into it. And once again, for any of you who just tuned in, I want to note that the Asia vs. Euro show match videos are up on my archives at day9tv.blip.tv. Once again, all the videos are up on day9tv.blip.tv. You should see a link under the comments section somewhere here. So many barracks being made. I like this composition quite a bit. Just enough Marauders to put the hurt on any roaches that come out, and plenty of Marines and tanks to deal with any of that other obnoxiousness, aka the Hedrilisks. But I'm super excited to see the Banelings come out. Oh, another hatchery being made. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, my. Okay, so let me say what I was about to say. I was going to be like, anytime you see a hatchery get made, say to yourself, this guy just could have macroed better. Notice that, you know, this queen has 50 energy and that queen has 50 energy. Should probably solve those problems of trying to keep it at 0 energy. And I'm going to pause it because there's a battle coming up over here that I don't want to miss. But I ordinarily say, like, yeah, you know, I guess you can make one if you get a little bit behind. But, you know, make sure you have a really good economy. And then he just, like, throws down 2. He's just, like, shift BH queuing as many hatcheries as he can. Just like, nah, no problem. I'll just vomit larva when I get around to it. And so here's already the nice big push coming up, leading with the auto turrets. Pretty cool, because you can lead with the auto turrets. They absorb a little bit of damage. They're also great when you're retreating and you have a bunch of banelings that are trying to charge forward, that the auto turrets can soak up some hits. And also because these have range 6, when your Marines get in there with range 5, the auto turrets can back them up from behind. So we do like the auto turrets. And you know, what's so cool about Banshees is that, like, if you remember Wraiths... Remember way back when people made Wraiths in that old ancient game Starcraft? The thing about Wraiths is that some people would get them because they obviously are air units, and if you can't shoot up, they can do a little bit of damage. But after your opponent had Hydras or Goliaths or some sort of anti-air, the Wraiths were kind of like paperweights. They really weren't part of your army anymore. But Banshees do 24 damage a shot to ground, and they shoot really fast. So you can harass with them, and then it bolsters the strength of your army just to have them as part of it. So definitely abuse that a lot. I mean, there is everything right about incorporating those Banshees into the battle. And you know what I love about Teletha here? He just killed off this expansion and just backed right off. He's about to set up his expo. He, I would say that he's in a little bit of a leading position here, especially when the Zerg's just making like 5 extra hatcheries. Definitely think that there needs to be a second Evo chamber here, but what's cool about that is that Teletha killed this off, basically saw approximately the amount of units there were, and was just like, alright, I'm backing up. I think that's like a very disciplined action to do. It's hard to be able to judge when it's ideal to move back or when it's ideal to keep pressing forward. But I figure I would mention that in this circumstance it's really good because I watch a lot of games of players who just sort of like, all right, I'm going to make an attack. And then, you know, they'll get into a big battle here and they'll have like 3 Marines and 4 Marauders and they'll just keep pushing because they have this idea of, well, I started the attack. I don't want to look like a coward. I may as well keep pressing onward. Nothing wrong with just backing off, regrouping, and then coming back for another attack. Look at this. He didn't wait that long. He just regrouped till he had some more Ravens, till he set his tanks up. And then it's continuing to shut this down. Already I'm watching this and I'm just like, ooh, poor Zerg. And then I'm just like, oh, lucky me, there's Banelings. Oh, God, I love Banelings. And he does have the speed upgrade for that. I'm going to open up this resource tab so you can get a sense of the food a little bit better. And, oh, my God, every time I see Banelings, I have to slow motion it. Terran, I think, is getting a little bit overexcited to retreat here. Stim's going down now, and here come the... Oh, my God! Oh, this is why those Banelings are awesome. Notice how the Zerg player's just right-click moving the Banelings. He's not hitting attack move, because if you right-click move, when they blow up, they do the damage anyways, if they get shot down. So that way you can right-click move them to the Marines where you want to. But as people would say, a lot of people would watch the situation and say, oh, well, played by Terran, just abusing that imbalance there. It's always important to know your ways around discussing anything that you watch. And there's one thing that I think is really important to note. I made that joke about imbalance, but as we pause it before the second wave comes in, I said this before, but I want to re-emphasize this. It is so important not to confuse something that is imbalanced with something that is normal. That sounds weird, but let me explain myself. So, let's take the original StarCraft. So Terran players would let's take like the most normal way to play Terran versus Zerg. The Terran player early expands. He sits with 3 or 4 barracks, making medic marine. Then he gets a factory. Then he gets a starport for science vessels and tanks. He's upgrading. He gets maybe 5 barracks total, and then he pushes once his first vessel finishes. He has about 30 to 40 medic marine, 3 to 4 tanks, and 1 vessel. That is the normal mid-game timing push. However, if let's take a really good Terran player like Idra. If Idra is doing that build to, say someone in my house who's only ever played Starcraft casually on BGH, Idra will win every single time with that exact push. Now imagine how that might feel from, my housemate's point of view. They would go, well, they could go, oh my god, it's imbalanced. It literally cannot be beaten. Unfortunately, with StarCraft, we've had the advantage of 12 years of growth of the game to be able to say, yeah, no, it's fair. It's just hard.